Happy Valentine's Day. I'm going to start with a dose of vitamin G for gratitude because we know how great that is to improve mood and decrease stress. I want to thank each and every one of you. It's been a character building 2 years, almost 2 years now, of the pandemic. And people have worked through it, have stayed committed, passionate about being a member of this Buckeye family. So I really appreciate each and every one of you and all that you do every single day. Well, why should we really care about heart health for ourselves and our families and for each other? Our heart beats an average of 80 times a minute. If you exercise well, you probably carry a resting heart rate around 55 or 60. But at 80 beats a minute, it beats 115,000 times in a day, or 42 million times in a year. In an average lifetime, our hearts are going to beat more than 3 billion times. And that's why we've got to do all that we can to prevent cardiovascular disease. Statistically, cardiovascular disease is still our nation and world's #1 killer. It's the leading cause of death in the United States for both men and women. Somebody dies from cardiovascular disease every 36 seconds. Now, what's really sad about some differences between men and women, their signs of, let's say, heart attack tend to be, not always, but tend to be a little different than a man's signs of a heart attack. So, gastrointestinal symptoms, nausea, increased respiratory rate, sweating, some pain that gets referred. But a lot of women don't talk about this crushing pain on the chest, like an elephant is sitting on your chest, like a lot of men do. The other big difference, because of these different symptoms, women wait an average of 54 hours to seek care. And by that time, oftentimes, there's a lot of damage that is done. Early intervention, early treatment will make a huge difference in prognosis. So a lot of people don't realize 1 in 31 women die from breast cancer, but 1 in 3 die from heart disease. Heart disease kills more women than all cancers combined. but it doesn't tend to get as much media attention as breast cancer. And that's why we've got to continue to have a big focus on cardiovascular disease here at Ohio State. Now, I just want to give you some quick facts about stroke. Every 40 seconds, somebody has a stroke in the United States. It's the 5th leading cause of death. And what's really sad is stroke death declines have stalled in 3 out of every 4 states, including our state of Ohio. And just like other types of cardiovascular disease, 80% of strokes are also preventable. So wouldn't it make better sense for us to invest a lot more in prevention than into sick care? The United States spends more money on healthcare than any Western world country, but our population health outcomes rank in the bottom. A big reason for that is we only invest 8% of our healthcare spending in prevention and wellness. High blood pressure is among the most common treatable risk factors for stroke, cognitive decline, and dementia, which is why we emphasize biometric screening every single year, knowing our numbers, because 1 out of 2 people with high blood pressure do not have it under control. Other major risk factors for stroke, besides high blood pressure: diabetes, hyperlipidemia, atrial fibrillation, which is a condition that gets more prevalent as we age. If somebody suffers from AFib, they're 5 times more at risk for stroke. So it is a huge risk factor. Tobacco use. Tobacco still is the largest preventable cause of chronic disease in the United States, and death. And then physical inactivity. I wish I could just wave a wand over every single Buckeye and they shorten their meetings from 60 minutes to 50. And even if you only did that 3 times a day, you could go for a brisk walk. You could climb up and down stairs and get your 30 minutes of physical activity in 5 days a week. We expect you to take time out of your work day, little chunk of time, 3 days, 4 days, 5 days a week to do something for your mental or physical well-being. Well, I want to quickly remind us all, anytime you yourself or somebody else you know experiences facial drooping, technically on one side, arm weakness, typically on one side. Speech difficulty. You got to call 911. Don't wait. If you can pick up a stroke in the first 3 hours, the outcomes tend to be so much better because we have clot buster drugs, but the key is to administer them within 3 hours of these signs starting. So remember the acronym, ACT FAST. Facial drooping, arm weakness, speech difficulty. Time is critical. Call 911. Well, we've gotten to the state in our country where overweight and obesity is ready to surpass tobacco as the most preventable cause of death and disease in the United States. 1 out of 3 people are predicted to have diabetes by 2050. I think it's going to be sooner than that. Because of COVID-19, people's increases in stress, depression, anxiety has led to even unhealthier practices. Alcohol use is up. Drug overuse is up. Unhealthy eating is up. And a lot of people have had declines in physical activity. We've reached the era in our country where 60% of Americans have a chronic disease, yet 80% of chronic disease is totally preventable with just a few healthy lifestyle behaviors. And what's really sad about our children today, not only have their rates of anxiety, depression, other mental health problems increased, so has their rates of overweight, obesity. And now our children are predicted to have a shorter lifespan than us. So at Ohio State, our terrific university-wide wellness team really focuses on these risk factors that can be changed. If we work with people in a pre-hypertensive state or a pre-diabetes state, we have a chance of bringing them back so they won't go over the fence to have high blood pressure and diabetes. So again, at Ohio State, we are really focused on helping people modify their risk factors that lead to all this cardiovascular and chronic disease. What a lot of people don't realize, cardiovascular prevention also preserves brain health. This is just a friendly reminder of everything you can do to preserve both your brain and your heart health, including manage your blood pressure and cholesterol. Know your numbers, including blood sugar. Don't smoke. Get moving. even 11 minutes of physical activity a day can reduce your risk of cardiovascular disease. We can all make the commitment to get in 11 minutes only of physical activity a day. Limit alcohol, and that's changed the recommendation. It used to be 1 drink, standard size, a day for women, 2 for men. The recommendation has changed to 1 drink, that's standard size, not this size, standard size, for both men and women. And reduce stress. Stress can really play havoc on our cardiovascular system. So the more we can learn techniques, and more than learn, but daily practice them, the better. Now, I already told you, cardiovascular disease is technically our #1 killer in America. But if we consider all causes of death and disease in the United States, it's our behaviors that are the #1 killer, including beware of your chair. If you've listened to any of my presentations before, I focus on these things because if we all can get into the habit of balanced eating, getting in some physical activity, reducing our stress daily, whatever works for us, we're going to have better outcomes. We're going to have a chance of not getting chronic disease and living a longer life. But behaviors are character building to change, even in ourselves. You got to get an emotional reason to motivate you to engage in a little bit more activity every day. Eat a little more balanced. My reason was because my mom sneezed, stroked out, and died right in front of me when I was 15 years of age. But it might have been prevented because she saw her family doc 1 week before she died, diagnosed with high blood pressure, given a prescription for a blood pressure medication that my dad found in her purse after she died. Again, behavior change, but most people don't change unless crisis happens or their emotions are raised. Get emotional with a story that's going to motivate you to do some of these healthy behaviors every single day. Because more than our genes, and this is research-based, more than our social circumstances, more than healthcare we get, more than environmental exposures. It's what we do, our behaviors that most contribute to whether we're going to die early or not. If you've heard me give a presentation on health and wellness before, you know I always give this evidence-based recipe, but it's one thing to know and not to do. There's this saying, the gap between what we know and what we do is lethal. It is. All we have to do is engage in physical activity, 30 minutes, 5 days a week. Only about a quarter of our Buckeye family meets that recommendation. We want to make it easy for people to stand more, sit less, move more. So we focus very much on culture, because culture eats strategy. We need to make these behaviors the norm at Ohio State. If you put 7 hours of sleep on top of these 4 behaviors and regularly engaging in some stress reduction practices, it's going to result in even greater percentage of prevention of chronic disease. And I love to show this scan of a brain after somebody sits quietly for 20 minutes, or they get up and they walk. Look at the red area of the brain. All those neurons are firing. So in addition to being good for our physical health, getting up, walking, moving, gets us out of that cognitive dulling that actually happens a lot, especially after we eat. We'll be much more engaged and cognitively alert if we reduce 60-minute meetings to 50 and go out and take a walk around your office. So I want to give you some tips for lowering blood pressure. First of all, know your numbers. If you do have high blood pressure, I was with a good friend this week. She said to me, I don't feel so good today. I said, are you taking your blood pressure medication? She said, oh, I forgot to take it the last 2 days. You're right, Bern. My blood pressure's probably up. And it was. So if you've been prescribed blood pressure medication, it's so important to take it consistently as prescribed. If you are overweight or obese, when we cross to a body mass index of 30, that's when our tendency for chronic disease really goes up. There's even been some studies that if you're, 26 or 27 BMI, but you're taking care of yourself, you're eating a balanced way, you're engaging in physical activity and doing those behaviors that I just talked about, chances are you're going to avoid chronic disease. Some people are really salt sensitive. And especially if you are salt sensitive, you want to limit your salt intake to 1,500 milligrams daily. Less than that. If you just don't add salt to your food, you're probably going to be fine, unless you're eating a lot of frozen foods or canned soups, which have a very high rate of sodium. And again, engage in practices to reduce stress. It's amazing, though, how just a little bit of weight loss can truly improve your blood pressure, your hemoglobin, A1C. Well, cholesterol, we want to manage too. We have two types of cholesterol: high density lipoproteins, which I call our happy lipids, our good lipids that swipe the lousy low density lipids out of our vessels. We want to ideally have happy lipids at a rate of 60 and above, because they help to wipe the lousy ones out of our vessels. Triglycerides should be less than 150. Non-HDLs should be at least less than 130. And if you calculate your ratio, you take your total cholesterol number and divide that by your high density happy lipids, that'll give you a ratio. Ideal is 4-to-1 or lower. I could get a lot more complicated on those figures, but for this purpose, I want you to know those simple facts. Well, how do you go about raising your HDLs, your happy lipids? Quit smoking if you use tobacco. Weight reduction. Get physical. Start to walk more. Sit less. Eat healthy fats. I don't cook with anything but olive oil. And the best type of olive oil is cold, flat pressed. And then again, limit alcohol intake to 1 standard drink a day. Well, how do you lower your lousy lipids? By eating a lot of fruits and veggies. At minimum, we should have at least 5 a day. I do that in a NutriBullet most mornings. I'll make a smoothie, throw in avocado, spinach, raspberries, blueberries, a banana, little flax, teaspoon of turmeric, and protein powder. Bam, I get my 5 in to start the day. Whole grains and beans are fabulous to lower LDL. All kinds of beans, black beans, kidney beans, beans eating even a half a cup a day. You might get some unwanted side effects from it at first, but seriously, they're like a scrub brush in our vessels. Bake, broil, or roast rather than fry. Get your physical activity in, stop smoking, and eat a handful, not a bagful, but a handful of nuts every day. What's the best kind of nuts? Almonds and walnuts. Use olive oil and avoid trans fats. And then some margarine spreads like Bechamel, which is what I use, they have plant sterols in them. And those have been found to lower LDLs. Stress and depression. Right now, due to the pandemic, 1 out of 3 Americans are suffering from depression or clinical anxiety. And that includes our children and our teens. Chronic stress, anxiety, and depression have absolutely been established to be associated with cardiovascular disease. So again, engaging in regular stress reduction practices is so important. Well, a lot of people ask me, as a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner, do I just have the blues or am I really depressed? Seasonal affective disorder, especially in Ohio this time of year, is very prevalent. Did you know Ohio ranks in the top 10 cities for cloud coverage during the year? So if you're susceptible to seasonal affective disorder, you might want to consider a move to a warm, sunny state like where I came from, sunny Arizona. Depression, the big difference, sad, irritable, hopeless, for a period of 2 weeks that interferes with functioning is a huge red flag. It is a strength to recognize when we're burnout, depressed, clinically anxious. It's not a weakness. And I encourage any of you who may be struggling, reach out to our employee assistance program or your primary care provider or a mental health counselor. Again, it's not a weakness. Everybody needs mental health help at some point in their lives. What happens with chronic stress? Our body starts to produce more hormones, such as cortisol and adrenaline. If you have chronic stress, that really plays havoc with so many systems in the body, including our cardiovascular system. And that's why it's really important to work at reducing our daily stress. Well, we were the first university to become a partner of the CDC and HRSA's Million Hearts Initiative. Our medical center is only the third in the country to have the Million Hearts designation, along with our university, because we're very focused on the ABCs. Appropriate aspirin therapy. Talk with your provider about whether you should be taking daily aspirin. Blood pressure control, so important, because half of people with high blood pressure do not have it under control. Managing our cholesterol, stopping tobacco use, and stress reduction. So, healthy ways to reduce our stress. For most, take a little time every single day to take care of yourself. We want people, when you work in Buckeye Nation, we absolutely want people to take a little time out of your day to do something to benefit your health and well-being. How we think affects how we feel, whether we get stressed, anxious, angry, or depressed. How we think also affects how we behave. So for the next 30 days, I'm going to ask each and every one of you to catch, check, and change your automatic negative thoughts. Since the time we were 9 or 10, our thinking patterns are consistently the same. We have a lot of times these automatic negative thoughts like, I can't do anything right. What's wrong with me? I'm going to get fired if I flub up one more time. I'm stupid, whatever it is. So the next time you feel stressed, angry, anxious, or depressed, I want you to stop and say to yourself, what was just going through my mind right now? Is it helpful? Is it true? Do I have the evidence to back it up? Chances are the answer to those questions will be no. Then you've got to change that negative thought. Turn the negative or unhelpful thought around the positive to feel better. Just like behavior change takes 30, 60, even 90 days to take root, so does changing a negative pattern of thinking. Negative patterns of thinking are at the root cause of so much depression and clinical anxiety. So again, I urge you, the next 30 days, do this simple catch, check, and change your automatic negative thoughts. We have to program our brains with positive, because what goes in is going to come out. And every morning to this day, for the past 30 years, I get up in the morning and I read 5 minutes in a positive thinking book. Just 5. You can do that because you go to the bathroom first thing in the morning, put a book by your toilet, you sit down, you pick up the book, start reading, good things going in, not so great things coming out. But you program your brain for more positivity throughout the day. If we could do what this little girl does every day when we wake up, when we're doing our hair, brushing our teeth, say these positive self-statements, you'd be amazed at how much better you feel.
Now my whole house is great. I can do anything good. I like my school. I like anything. I like my dad. I like my cousins. I like my aunts. I like my Allisons. I like my moms. I like my sisters. I like my dad. I like my hair. I like my haircuts. I like my pajamas. I like my stuff. I like my rooms. I like my whole house. My whole house is great. I can do anything good. Yeah. I can do anything good. Better than anyone. Better than anyone. Now.
Our brains process what we say. And even if we don't believe something yet, saying positive self-statement 10 times in the morning, 10 times before we go to bed at night, I can't tell you the difference that one simple action does. We also, if we can get in the habit of taking and giving a dose of vitamin G every morning, every day, we get up, I lay in bed. the first thing I do is say, what am I grateful for? I've lived through another night. I can see, I can hear, my legs function, I can walk. I love my two little character building pugs that are nuzzled next to me. But seriously, daily practice of gratitude has so many positive effects. Improves heart health, mood, optimism, sleep, and blood pressure. So let's all get into the habit of taking and giving a vitamin G dose every day. I'm going to finish with just some last tips that can really pull down your stress, anxiety, burnout, depressive symptoms. Break your routine if you're rutted. Sometimes I just go a different route home, drive home, because it breaks my routine. Balanced eating. We have to remember, eat light, eat often, like a baby. When we overindulge in junk or high carb foods, it makes our bodies feel worse. It clouds our mind. Take frequent recovery breaks during the day to just get up and move. You'd be amazed how much more energy that you have. If you start to worry, pull yourself back into the present moment. Stay mindful. In an easy exercise, slowly turn your head from left to right, taking in, what am I seeing? What colors do I see? What am I hearing? What am I sensing? To bring yourself back to the present moment. A great book that I recommend, an easy read about the benefits of mindfulness, is The Present by Spencer Johnson. Practice guided imagery. I have the Calm app. We have Will out of your plan for health. It has so many great exercises on it. Try using it. Check and monitor your vitamin D level. There's a lot more research coming out about vitamin D contributing to depression and overweight. So if you haven't had yours checked, ask your provider to check it. My vitamin D level is low. Living in Ohio, because we don't get a ton of sun, I had to take high dose vitamin D to increase that vitamin D level. And then when you get stressed, even before you're stressed, get in the habit of taking a few deep breaths using the 4-7-8 method. Breathe in slowly, count to 4, hold it for 5, and exhale for 8. Talk to somebody. If you're struggling, talk to a close friend, family member. But by all means, if you've been struggling with depression, anxiety, anger, more than 2 weeks, and it's interfering with your functioning, get some help. We have so many evidence-based treatments like cognitive behavior therapy for that. Lastly, the blue zones where people are happiest in the world. They really have found Knowing your purpose is worth up to 7 years of extra life expectancy. We got to get back to dreaming again. What can you do in the next 3 to 5 years if you can't fail? Because if you're aligned with your dreams and your passions, when you go to work in the morning, you're going to jump up and down and say, yay, I get to go to work today. Alignment with our dreams, purpose, and passions are so important. No matter how mature you are never too old to pursue your dreams and passions. Just like this man, 105 years of age, gets his diploma. I didn't have a mom to see me graduate from high school, college, or go on to have this beautiful family. I use what happened to me as a motivator to do all that I can on a daily and weekly basis to keep in good mental and physical health, because my family wants me to be around for a long time. Who in your life who wants you to be around a long, long time can motivate you to engage in these healthy behaviors to prevent cardiovascular disease? So set a 30-day SMART goal and stick to it. And if you fall off the wagon, just get up next day. No guilt. Get up the next day and try again. So with that, I'd be happy to take a minute or two and answer any questions.
All right, so it looks like we just have one question at this point. If anyone has any other questions, please throw them in the Q&A and we will get those answered for you. So the question we have is, would you say that air frying food is relatively healthy, or would you still recommend baking, broiling, or roasting?
Air frying is much healthier. It really is than regular frying. So I'd encourage you to do that. Yeah. And in fact, thank you for raising that question, because I'll add that to my talks. Soybeans are absolutely fabulous to eat. Any kind of beans, chickpeas are even great. Like, I love chickpeas. I could add them to anything. But just beans, build more beans into your diet. Like I said, chances are you may have a little adverse side effect from beans when you start to do that, but it'll be worth it. Well, again, everybody, happy Valentine's Day. I appreciate you and all you do. Please turn around now and go give a dose of vitamin G to somebody else. Thank you. And as always, go Buckeyes.